Hi guys, so I'm gonna read the other two stories in Superboy number 10. This was the issue where Lana Lang first appeared. I did the first story a while ago, and someone wanted me to do the other two, so here we go. So Superboy, The Adventures of Superman When He Was a Boy. To some kids, it seems that there's nothing harder than going to school, and so, instead of studying, they waste their time dreaming up ways of getting rich and taking it easy. But what would actually happen if those idle dreams of riches were to come true, as it actually did for Sandy, Red, and Blackie? Follow their perilous trail of adventure as they quit high school to seek their fortunes, and see how Superboy teaches them an unforgettable lesson in the toughest school in the world. As young Clark Kent returns home from school after the first day of the new term. Gosh, this new load of school books is pretty heavy. Uh-oh. Mustn't let those other kids see me handling these books with one finger, or they might suspect I'm Superboy. There, I'll just act if I find these books pretty heavy too. Boy, lucky we don't have to lug all of these every day. As Clark goes on his way, his super keen hearing catches an interesting conversation outside the sheriff's office. Are you just going to let this confidence man, Burlington Smith, stay in town and fleece people of their savings with his fake schemes, Sheriff? I can't do anything without proof. The folks he fleeces are too ashamed to complain. Burlington Smith, eh? He'd naturally be staying at the local hotel. I'll step in here and switch to Superboy. Maybe I can do something. Shortly after, on a ledge outside the window of Smallville's lone hotel. Sir, 10 years of my life went into this formula for curing baldness. But alas, I need cash. For $5,000 it's yours, and you'll get back millions. Millions, sir. But are you really telling the truth? Sir, if I ever utter a falsehood, may the very furniture in this room rise up and assail me. Well, he asked for it, so here goes. Streaking into the room at invisible super speed, the Boy of Steel tries to satisfy Smith's request. Huh? Oh dear! Say, my lies have come to life! No, no! This couldn't be real! It's my conscience turning on me with fearful visions. One side! Let me out of here! Why, it's Shh! And you can thank me for saving you from that old fraud. Meanwhile, a block from the hotel, 3 students of Smallville High, Sandy, Red, and Blackie, discuss their troubles. Gosh, am I fed up with school. Yeah. Now, if we had a lot of dough, we wouldn't need all this arithmetic and geography and junk, so we could get jobs later on. Hey, mister, you dropped some envelopes. Never mind, one side. I've got to make a train. Well, as long as you don't want them, let's see what's... Hey, what's this? Holy smoke! Well, look at mine. Several days later, at the close of school. No more homework, no more books, no more teachers' dirty looks. Huh? Why, they're burning their composition books with all their school notes. Hi, Clark. Don't look so surprised. We're quitting school. We got our working papers today, and we're celebrating by burning our notebooks. Quitting school? But how'll you get along in life without an education? Easy. We're all gonna be rich. We know we can trust you to keep our secret, so we'll show you. Look, a map of an undiscovered petroleum pool on free government land. And here's mine, a gold treasure down on Volcano Island. Burlington Smith must have dropped them when he blew town. Gosh, that's swell, fellows. Well, good luck. No use telling them that Smith's get-rich-quick schemes are phony. They're so fed up with school that even if they did return, they'd probably be poor students. But on the other hand, if Superboy could make it possible for them to find their treasures, in order to make them realize the value of education. Then they'd be glad to get back to school, and they'd really study hard. A strange idea. How does Superboy plan to interest the youths in school again by making their dreams of wealth come true? Early next morning, I just learned they all drew their funds out of the school thrift account, and Sandy took a train to his phony oil pool last night. Well, I'll still get there well ahead of him to prepare things. Shortly after, at the edge of a rock-lined hollow, many miles from Smallville. Smith was partly right anyway. My X-ray vision tells me that there was oil here once. I say about 1,000,000 years ago. But by digging a long tunnel down through these hills and out to sea where I know there are some underwater petroleum deposits, I can build a live pump to force back all the oil necessary for my plans. A live pump? What does Superboy mean? Shortly after, having dug his way up from an undersea oil deposit, now to force this huge sponge into this clam. Then, from the sponge, I'll run a few of those tough hollow sea reeds down into the oil deposits below, and as the clam continually opens and closes with terrific pressure in a vain effort to digest the sponge, the water in the sponge will be forced through the reeds and keep pumping oil up to the hollow by hydraulic pressure. Now, to get back, line the hollow with flint, and on to my next task. Some moments later, the Boy of Steel heads towards the setting sun and the glowing crater of Volcano Island. Now that I've prepared Sandy's oil well, I'll see what I can do about Red's gold treasure on Volcano Island. The first problem is to get to the gold, and what better place than down in the molten heart of that volcano? Into the blazing lava-churned inferno Superboy plunges. I can gather up enough gold from this molten rock to serve my purposes, and quite easily, since the weight of the gold in its melted state causes it to settle just under the ore-bearing rock. Shortly after having cooled and molded the gold into a heap of shimmering nuggets, I'll leave the nuggets here where Red's map says you'll find them. And now, great Scott! I've taken a lot more time preparing than I thought. I'll be late for school. And zooming hurriedly back towards Smallville High, Superboy uses his telescopic vision and super hearing to observe that his class has already started. I got so interested in setting up that treasure, I forgot how late it was. And there is Miss Grady calling on me now. Clark, on what date was... Why, Clark isn't in his seat. Switching from Superboy in his swift, invisible dash through the open window, Clark suddenly appears in his seat and... What's that, Miss Grady? Well, goodness, Clark. The way you were poking around under that desk, I almost marked you absent. I repeat the question. Then later that day, at the end of school, the Boy of Steel once more sets out. According to my reckoning, Sandy should have gotten to his oil pool by now, and I've got to be on hand when those cleated shoes he always wears start striking sparks off the flint I set around the pool's edge. Seconds later, gosh, it's oil all right. I'm rich. I got here just in time. He's caused a fire to start already. Now we'll see. Now he's noticed the fire, and he's filling his water bucket at the spring. He's about to do the one thing that he had learned was wrong in the chemistry class he'd been taking now, if he hadn't left school. And sure enough, as the excited boy attempts to douse the fire by splashing water over the oil-soaked rock, now he's done it. It's time for Superboy to take over. Superboy! Gosh, I thought I was a goner. You almost were, because you didn't know what you'd have been learning in class right now, that oil and water don't mix. Setting Sandy down safely on a rocky ledge above the fire, which is why water only spread that fire. What's really needed is sand. I'll give you a demonstration by making sand of these boulders. Quickly, the Boy of Steel crushes the huge boulders into fine sand that pours down on the raging flames. You see, sand actually smothers the flames, killing the fire by cutting off its oxygen supply. Gosh! Presently, after Superboy has succeeded in putting out the fire, well, that ends your dream of wealth, the oil having been forced far back underground by the weight of sand I had to use. It's all because of your ignorance. Oh well, there's still Red and Blackie's treasure, and we'd agreed to split, so we're not through yet. Several days later, after having saved Sandy from the results of his own ignorance, we find Superboy headed toward Volcano Island again. By my reckoning, the little boat Red hired for his trip to the island should have gotten him there now. My telescopic vision tells me I'm right. Instead of stopping at the beach where his supervision had revealed Red already approaching the hoard of gold, Superboy heads straight for the volcano. I'll smash in the side of this fellow so that the lava begins to pour out and rush down to the beach just as Red reaches the gold. Seconds later, as the raging lava rushes down to the beach, threatening to cut off Red's retreat to the boat. Uh-oh, I'll never make it. If I waste any time rushing up to grab the gold, it'll be too late to get back to the boat before the lava cuts me off. Oh, what'll I do? In the terrible moment of indecision, Red suddenly spots the approach of a zooming figure. It's Superboy. Gosh, he'll be able to help me. He's carrying those 2 different sized buckets. So much the better for my plan to teach him the same kind of lesson I did Sandy with the oil treasure. I see that you're after that gold. Well, look, I'm in a real hurry. I'll fill one of those buckets with as much gold as you can carry. How about the small one? No, the big one, Superboy. All right, but on one condition. You'll have to carry the full bucket as I give it to you. So, wouldn't you rather I fill the small one? I'm not that dumb. Fill the big one. Swiftly, as the lava closes in, the Boy of Steel fills the larger bucket with gold and returns to present it to Red. Gosh, I'm rich. I can't lift it. It feels like a ton. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You left school before studying Troy weight. A little bit of gold can be very heavy. Remember, I warned you. Then, just as the lava closes in on them, the conditions were that you had to carry the full bucket, and because of your ignorance, you failed, so you lose your treasure. Maybe this'll help you realize why you can't get along without education. Gosh. After returning Red to his boat, Superboy sets out next for the desert country whose red sandstone cliffs stand out like sentinels. And now a lesson for Blackie. There he is on his way to photograph a valuable secret formula, supposed to be engraved on one of the sandstone cliffs a mile further on. Streaking past Blackie, Superboy reaches the proper spot well in advance, and since Smith's treasures are all fakes, and there's no such valuable formula, I'll have to make one up by using my fingernail as an engraving tool. Shortly after, as Superboy watches from a nearby crevice, I'll have to copy the whole thing exactly, diagrams and all, which is why I'll have to photograph it. I'll be able to sell the picture to any chemical firm for plenty. Now to proceed with my little plan. Streaking far up into the freezing stratosphere, as Blackie continues to shoot the formula. Now, by blowing, I'll force this mass of cold air downwards. That'll make the warm air below rise faster than usual, and so stir up powerful winds. And presently, as the Boy of Steel darts down to where Blackie stands, the winds I stirred up have started a furious sandstorm. In another moment, it'll be difficult even for me to see with my ordinary vision. I can't see. Superboy! Gosh, am I glad you're here. I just got that valuable picture I was after. But this sandstorm, it's too much for me. I'll get you through safely, Blackie. I'll have to use my X-ray vision to see where I'm going. Now I've got this little lead box you can use to protect your films. You won't want anything to happen to them. Now look, you don't have to treat me as if I were a dummy. I got sense enough to take care of my valuable property. This camera's nice and tight. Nothing will hurt these films. Well, I won't argue with you, Blackie. Anyway, I better start using my X-ray vision. A half hour later, at a drugstore in a nearby town, where Superboy has left Blackie to have his films developed.
Sorry, son, but this film is ruined. Looks as if it's been exposed to X-rays or something.
Huh? X-rays? Why, gosh, I never realized that the radiations from his X-ray vision could damage films by going right through my camera case. Dashing from the store to where Superboy waits outside. I heard it all, Blackie. Yes, only lead would have stopped those X-rays. Too bad you didn't know enough to take that lead box I offered you. Now I see it, Superboy. You were working pretty hard to show me how ignorant I am, to convince me I should return to school. But I'm not so dumb. I can go back and photograph that cliff again. I'll be glad to take you back, Blackie. And so, shortly after, back at the cliff. It's gone! The formula's gone! But how come? Just another thing you didn't know, Blackie. That sand can wear away stone. Friction caused by the whirling sand particles simply erased your formula. Gosh, Superboy, maybe I was wrong after all. I guess there's plenty I've got to learn before I can get rich the way I hoped. I guess I should go back to school. Too bad the three of you had to learn your lesson in the hardest school in the world. Several days later, back at Smallville, as Clark Kent trudges towards school. Why, it's Sandy, Red, and Blackie, and carrying school books, too. Well, I guess the lessons I taught them as Superboy really worked. But suddenly,
"Hey, kids, I've got something special for you. How to get real treasures at only 10 cents apiece."
Huh? Burlington Smith, up to his old fake schemes again, and preying on kids this time. Huh? Don't tell me that they're actually falling for Smith's treasure hokum again. And after all the trouble I took. Well, here's where Superboy chases Smith out of town for good. Look, there's Superboy!
"Well, strike me pink. 'Tis the Wonder Boy indeed. Perhaps I can interest you in one of my little treasures, Superboy."
Treasures, eh? Why, I'll gulp, huh? That is, I'll take, one of each. Even Superboy ought to, brush up on things once in a while. So it says, the treasure of knowledge, how to improve your studies, problems in algebra. And so, gosh, imagine that. Even Smith is reformed and gone and for selling honest treasure. Seems those lessons I taught were far more effective than I'd ever expected. So that's the first story, and now the second. So Superboy, the adventures of Superman when he was a boy. So this one is more action in it. Have you ever wondered how a cartoonist draws a newspaper comic strip? If so, then you're about to learn things. You'll also learn why a cartoonist faces death, why Superboy becomes an artist's super assistant, why a Sunday comic page was needed for villainy, and why the incredible happens when Superboy meets Century Man. In Smallville School, a poster causes great excitement among its pupils. Guest instructor for drawing class pupils will be Will Ferris, creator of that famous newspaper comic strip character Century Man. Mr. Ferris will judge entries in a special drawing contest and award a prize to the winner. Century Man? Gosh, that's my favorite comic strip. I never miss a day of it. Gee, and the man who draws it will be in here, in person. In class, the regular teacher explains the contest. That student who submits the most original cartoon drawing will become Mr. Ferris's paid assistant for 1 week. Golly, oh boy! Soon the room is silent, except for the busy rasping of pencils on paper. Gee, Imagine working on the actual Century Man cartoon. If I won, I'd be glad to work for Ferris for nothing. Among the competing pupils is Clark Kent. It wouldn't be fair for me to do my best, because as Superboy I could easily win. I'll just draw this ordinary cartoon of a head that won't attract Ferris's notice. After the pupils hand in their drawings, they wait and wait and wait. Mr. Ferris should have been here an hour ago. I wonder if this appointment slipped his mind. Gee, maybe he isn't coming. The kids will be disappointed if Ferris doesn't arrive. I better make sure he does. Excusing himself, Clark swiftly sheds his everyday garb and mild manner to become the one and only Superboy. Ferris' place is only 40 miles from here, so up, and away! Seconds later. Superboy, glad you were passing by. My plane's in the blink and I got to get to Smallville pronto. That's easy. Get inside, Ferris, and hang on. Clamping his body to the propeller, Superboy begins to spin, faster, ever faster, until... Now we're taking off. Superboy has turned himself into a human propeller. Soon after, mission completed. Destination Smallville. Look, it's Will Ferris. Superboy brought him. Afterward, the odd class watches as Will Ferris teaches them the tricks of cartooning. Now, a running figure can be drawn with lines for limbs and a balloon for a head, like this. The skeleton figure can be given even more solidity by adding different shaped balloons about it, like this. Then, by giving the balloons more form, you can draw a simple but recognizable figure, like this one, a Superboy. Now I'm going to draw my own cartoon character, Century Man, the man who uses his time machine to send him into adventures in many centuries. Century Man. Once again, the restless Century Man is eager for excitement. His fingers adjust the dials of his amazing time belt and... So 1900, 7042, 1000 BC, 23 BC. Again the time traveler is plunged back through the ages into another century. Later, after the lecture, Ferris judges the entries in the drawing competition. This is an interesting drawing. When I hold the picture this way, the man is smiling. But when I hold the same picture upside down, the man is frowning. That's what I call originality. For that clever cartoon, I named Clark Kent as the winner. I won, even though I tried not to. And all because by accident I drew a cartoon that could be looked at both ways. Next day, as Clark reports for work. Ferris plane, taking off. Don't tell me he's forgotten I'm to be his assistant for a week. Curious, Clark focuses his unique X-ray vision on the plane. Ferris is being forced to pilot his plane somewhere. I recognize those gunmen. That's Waxy Coombs and his stooges, Gumbo and Flatnose. But what does Waxy want with Ferris? Soon after, the Boy of Steel trails the plane from a safe distance. That's Ferris's private island. He bought it so he can be alone whenever he wants to do a lot of work. Waxy figured nobody would disturb them there. Afterward, what's this about? I'm a busy man. I gotta finish 6 dailies and a Sunday page for my cartoon. I gotta make a deadline. You'll be there too, unless you do as we tell you. You go ahead, draw those dailies. But on the Sunday page, we'll want the dialogue changed. The only way we can get a coded message to a pal is when he reads it in your printed newspaper strip. A coded message. I see. If I'm any judge of character, Ferris is probably thinking of a way to trick Waxy. Gotta trick them into taking me off the island to where I have a chance to yell for help. Got an idea. You know, my reputation for realism, I must have a certain real props first. Unless I see the real thing, I'm not inspired. And when I'm not inspired, I can't draw. If you want realism, I'll show you a real bullet. A dangerous moment has been reached, a moment calling for the boy of steel.
Superboy! Yep! Look what it did to my gun!
Flat-nosed is soon flattened against a wall, pinned there by drawing pens. A picture no cartoonist could draw. Suddenly,
Hold it, Superboy, or else!
nice work, Jumbo. That gives me an idea, too. We can use your services, Superboy, and you'd better agree to my terms or we'll kill Ferris. Not only do I want your promise not to bother us till Ferris finishes his drawings, but I want your word you'll help us fulfill his temperamental demands for real props. I've no choice. Very well, you have my promise. Okay, Jumbo, you can take the gun away from Ferris's head. Superboy won't go back on the promise. It's my fault Superboy is to help those crooks. I gotta dream up such impossible tasks that not even Superboy can fulfill them. Let me think. Got it. So it is that Ferris and Superboy, though allies against crime, must now oppose each other in a battle of wits. Century Man's next episode is in the dinosaur age. I must have a real giant dinosaur for a model. This guy's cracked. Dinosaurs are extinct. Relax, I'll get him his dinosaur. Soon after, Superboy rockets to the land of the eternal night, the Arctic Circle. There, my X-ray vision has found a dinosaur perfectly preserved in that glacier. One titanic wrench rips away a glacier centuries old. I'm lucky. This is the only dinosaur I was able to find. But as Superboy rushes homeward at cosmic speed... What? The strain was too much. The glacier and the frozen dinosaur were shattered by my intense speed. What'll I do now? Swiftly, Superboy makes his decision and races to a warmer climb. This one will do the trick. How can a tiny lizard fulfill Ferris's demand for a monster dinosaur? Soon after, back at Ferris's island, a lizard? Now what are you doing? Squeezing the sand with such force that it will turn into liquid glass and flow into the mold I built. When the mold is filled with hardened glass, Superboy uses his steel-hard hands to grind the surface. Thus, a gigantic magnifying glass is made, which in turn magnifies the tiny reptile into colossal proportions. Since all lizards are descendants of dinosaurs, I filled Ferris's demand for a giant dinosaur. Later, as Ferris draws the Century Man episode, his brain is busy thinking of another plan. Superboy found a way to meet my request. I gotta think of something he can't possibly do. What can it be? Century Man will next travel to the days of wooden sailing ships, where he'll encounter the Flying Dutchman. That's your next assignment, Superboy. Bring me the Phantom Ship, the real Flying Dutchman. What? Can you do it, Superboy? I don't know. The real Flying Dutchman never existed. The ghost ship called the Flying Dutchman is only a legend. How can I bring back a legend? I stumped Superboy this time. There's only one way to tackle that problem. Huh? He's breaking up the magnifying glass he just made. I wonder what he's got in mind. Next, Superboy zooms over the city, collecting the black smoke erupting from the chimneys of factories. This plastic sack I've made should hold just enough for my needs. Then, back at the island, Superboy turns shipbuilder. Am I seeing things? He's making that ship upside down. Afterwards, Superboy releases the smoke that floats like a black fog over the sunny waters. These splinters from the pulverized magnifying glass are almost weightless. They'll fall down slowly. And then, incredibly, a ghost ship seems to sail the waters. Since the Flying Dutchman was only an illusion, what you see out there is as real as any phantom ship superstitious sailors thought they saw. Explanation of how Superboy created the Phantom Ship. So there's the sun, slivers of glass catch reflection from sunny waters and glints of light, give lines of reflected ship a ghostly light, There's the cliff of the just a cliff. The cloud of smoke becomes a black backdrop. There's water and reflection of the ship in sunny water. And so later, your last daily. The Sunday page is next, and after that you letter the last panel as I tell you. I can't let Waxy's code get through. Since I can't stump Superboy, there's only one thing to do. I'll need some real roses as models for my Sunday page sequence. Only roses? You quit asking for impossible things, eh? You knew you couldn't win. Here, Superboy, buy Ferris some posies. This is easy. Too easy. Soon after, as Ferris touches the roses suddenly, your arms and hands, they're swelling up. This is how I always react to roses. I'm allergic to roses. I won't be able to draw for days, Waxy. Your code won't get through now. You ain't beat me yet, Superboy. With all your super skill, you can imitate Ferris's drawing style. You're gonna finish the Sunday page. I promised the drawings would be finished, and they will be. The drawing pen seems to have a life of its own, as it skitters and dances over the drawing board. After lettering in the dialogue balloon, Superboy is forced to write in the coded message under the last panel. And it says, I wonder where my travel into time will take me next. Next week, Century Man meets a new villain, Big Naphtha, the two-gun bad men from the Old West. So that's like the in fiction, it's fiction in fiction kind of thing. But after completing the lettering, what are you doing now? Coloring the panels. You never saw Sunday pages in dull or plain black and white like in dailies. They're always in full color. And when the job is done, okay, Jumbo, take the dailies and the Sunday to the newspaper editor. Tell them you're Ferris's new delivery boy. Later, after Jumbo leaves, I might as well start planning next week's story, but I'll have to wait until Century Man gets here to fill in the details. Huh? Century Man? Here? Are you crazy? I'll tell you a secret. The reason I insist on realism is because Century Man himself actually exists. He comes here every week to tell me about his real-life adventures. Ha! When he comes here, introduce us. Ha ha ha.
You heard him, Ferris. Introduce us.
Yup, it's him, Century Man. It can't be.
Suddenly,
he's touched his time belt. What's happening to us? He's taking us on a time travel. Everything's going round. Fading.
Moments later, when the mists clear,
where are we?
You're on the outskirts of Earth City in the year 3050.
3050?
Now, because you are guilty of misdeeds, like all criminals in this century, you'll be sent by spaceship to our prison on the planet Mars.
Mars? No, we didn't mean to hurt Ferris. We'll confess. Yeah, confess. Maybe you'll give us a break. The message was for our boss, Big Ed Jones. He's in prison. On the Sunday the Century Man comes out, some barrels of naphtha are being delivered to the prison soap-making workshop.
We hid 2 guns in the second barrel. Big Ed's escape won't take place.
Suddenly, Century Man sheds his costume and... Now I can remove this backdrop I painted.
Superboy!
Right, Waxy. While you were handling the drawings to Jumbo, Superboy whispered his plan in my ear. They were all props. You tricked me into confessing. But I've beaten you anyway. The code has gotten through. Look! I beat you again, Waxy, because I colored the Sunday page drawings. A cartoonist would never do that. So he says,
Jumbo and Coppers and how?
Coloring must be done separately, not directly on the original black and white art. Superboy knew my editor realized something was wrong, and had Jumbo arrested. And that's the end of that story. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. Hope if you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later.